Okay, the first thing I'm going to go over is unpackaging the system. You have the main case. Each side of the top of the case you loosen up. Carefully take off the top section. Then you have the front section. You'll notice that the laptop glider is forward. That's so that the lid can fit on it. You'll go ahead and start bringing it back. Bring it back further so you can open this up here. You have your two mic cables, XLRs. These go to your wireless receiver. You already have your laptop cables plugged in. This is what goes out to the subwoofer. Then you have right and left. Just match it up with right and left. Take off the piece. Go ahead and take whatever laptop you're going to use. Then you bring the glider down until it's just enough where it doesn't clamp the cables. You could plug up the laptop fan, depending on what system it is. It could be different type of laptop fan. Let's see. Okay. You sign in. If you're setting it up for karaoke, you just go HDMI, then go out to the TV. Then the next thing I'm going to go over is the actual cables that you take out of the back of the case. Okay. You have the main power cable. You'll notice that this has a cable cuff. But this customer that has this system, they're not getting these because they're not moving the system around. It's going to be in place. So you would just take out your main power cord. Then you have your two speaker cables that go to your speakers. And you'll notice that it's right speaker, and that coincides with the right mixer out. Take out the next one. Same thing, this one says left. Then you have your laptop cable. Take that out. Unroll it. Depending on what side your 1/8" plug is on the laptop. This is on the left side for me. Then you have the cable for the subwoofer. There may be variations of it, but this particular one comes out of the aux send, and then the other end shows sub input, and you take that to the back of the subwoofer. Then you have your two wireless mics that you take out. Then you go ahead and start plugging up your system. So I'll go ahead and take this cable right here. You have your first main speaker. That's male XLR, goes right into here. Same thing with the other speaker. Then you go ahead and take the next cable, unwind it. This is for the subwoofer. And you go ahead and basically, if it's under a table, wherever the subwoofer is, you just plug it right into the back of the subwoofer, no different than you did the regular cables. And then you'll be ready to power it up. Next thing you do is power on the system. You'll notice that the lights are on, so if you have this plugged into a receptacle, as long as this is on, you'll always see that. I actually have them tilted inward so that you could see the wireless microphones, the channels. You'll notice that this particular system is color-coded, so you have the red and the yellow. Same thing when you look at the top there. That's color coded as well, so you're able to see who the singer is from a distance. So you have the main plug, turn it on. One of the things my system asked me is how am I using that cable that I plugged in into the laptop, speaker out. Now, not all laptops are going to do that. Next thing you do is you power on your speakers. Remember, you want to power on your speakers last. And you power on your subwoofer, which is down here. Now the subwoofer's laying on its side only because I put it underneath the table. It wouldn't fit another way. And this is the XLR cable that I spoke of that goes right in the back of the subwoofer. Now what I'm going to talk about is the settings. The first things you set are your speakers. You'll notice if you think of a clock, when this is standing up, if you think of a clock, this is right around 2 o'clock, this is right around 10 o'clock, and this is right around 10 o'clock. So as long as you start there, you're good to go. I would tell you not to max out the subwoofer. This is pretty much where you would want it, to run it between 12 o'clock and 2 o'clock. And you could adjust either of these just to see what you think of the variance. Changes your frequency, the crossover. The lower you have it, the more of just bass. The higher you have it, it does sound louder, but it's because you're allowing vocals to pass through the coil as well. And then this basically is just an enhancer. I normally won't mess with it. Now let's go ahead and look at the back of the speaker. The back of the speaker, typically if you're doing karaoke, I would have it set around 12. Doing DJ, a little bit higher. You could go between 12 and 2. I've even had it where if you really need it loud, you could go all the way to max. But remember, once you set your EQ, if you have it here and you set your EQ and you change it that much, you want to make sure that you change your board as well. But typically, keeping it right around here is good. Now also notice you see the green light. No matter what happens on your mixer, always make sure that stays in the green. Okay, now going to the mixer. As far as the setups on the mixer, this particular customer, we set up a lot of labels for this one, and I'll start from the left side down. Up here it says plug mics here, so this is basically where you plug all your microphones. This is a secondary. If you have a microphone that just has a 1/4 inch cable, you could go ahead and plug it in like that, but we always recommend XLR because it's definitely superior. Below this is what's called an insert line. If you were to hook up a compressor for the vocals or an external effects and so forth, that's what those are for. Then actually I'll just go to the right here. I stuck a small sticker here that says buttons down for B input. When you have things plugged into the RCAs, as I have the laptop plugged into the RCAs, this white button is always pushed in. So that label is going to be a reminder to make sure it's pushed in. Then just to the right of that, it says sub cable. Now underneath the sticker, it actually says mon send, so for the monitor. But I wanted to make it a little more simple, and then of course here this correlates with that, so you know that this is where that plugs in. And then of course we already mentioned that you have your left and right mix out that goes out to your speakers. And then even over here there's a sticker that says cable mains to speakers. Now going back over to the left side, you'll notice this sticker says gains, and then you'll notice a large sticker on the top here that says mic gain set between 3 and 5. So if you look at the numbers on here, 3 and 5, I normally would never go past 4. If you have a certain type of microphone that has high gain before feedback, you could turn that up, but for this system it works perfect right around 3.5, so that's where I would keep that. And then the audio channel, you'll notice that it's a little bit different. You could change the gain from 4 to about 7. I have it right at 5, works perfect for this system. You can adjust it however you want, you just have to be careful with how you adjust it. Then below this, you have low pass filters. So what happens is anything below 80 hertz will be cut out for the microphones. And what that does is it actually helps with minimizing handling noise. Now going over the next set of stickers, even though you could see right here it says high, and you know that that's an EQ, high, mid, low, it's a lot easier when you see the stickers. So you have EQ highs, mids, lows. Then below it, this is what's controlling the subwoofer. So each of these, which are actually, this is pretty much red and this is more like a burgundy color, the knobs itself. So you know that the gains are black, the EQ are blue, the volume for your subwoofer is going to be a burgundy color, and you'll notice over to the right here, this is your master volume for each of these channels. I have it set at 0. I normally would not go past that, even though you probably could, but this seems to be the best spot for it. Then below this, you have to adjust the echo. So we're going to concentrate on a couple things on this board. This is the volume that you put your echo, and you'll notice that I have it on 3. I think that's more than sufficient. And you'll notice that the red knob here, this is your master volume for each individual channel, and I have that set at 3. You'll also notice up to the right here, change type of echo. This is your echo station. So you could change the different rooms, the amount of the effects, meaning the overall loudness of the effects, and this just changes the depth of it. I have it right around 5. You could change it however you want, whatever is to your liking. Below this, you'll see that I have mute channels. One thing you want to get used to when you're not using the mixer, make sure that you have everything muted. And most often when you're using this, the way this system's set up, you're going to have this audio channel unmuted when you play music, and you're going to have 1 and 2 for the most part, or if you do a corded microphone, and so forth. But when you're not using both mics and there's only one singer, always mute the second one. But the problem that you're going to run into, which really isn't a problem, it's just you have to discipline yourself to make sure that you check the settings all the time. Check 1, 2. So you can see on channel 1. Now, let me go ahead and take check 1, 2, check 1, 2. You'll notice that I'm getting a signal, but I don't hear anything through the system, and it's because I have it on mute. Check 1, 2. So try to remember that. If you can't hear your microphone, the first thing you do is you look at your mic and you make sure that it's actually on and it doesn't say mute. If for any reason it says mute, just hold it for a second. Now when powering on the mic, you hold it down till it powers off. Hold it in till it powers back up. Now another thing you want to look at is the front here. We'll go down and look at the front. What I did was I color coded this. I actually have microphone 1 as yellow right now and microphone 2 as red. Now look up here. Look what I did. See how that shows yellow, red? So I'm going to go ahead and switch that to make sure that it's proper. Now remember, see how easy it is to change it? If you want it this over here, you can put it anywhere you want. That's why I decided to color code it instead of calling it 1 and 2. So if you see a microphone 10 feet away from you and it's got the yellow windscreen on it, it's going to be this person that you want to adjust. Now, when you have the microphone, you turn it on, you're going to see that it says channel 99. Corresponds with channel 99 right here. Now let's say you keep getting all sorts of interference. The first way you could check this out is to press auto and keep holding it until it starts moving, and then let it go, and it's going to go ahead and try to find a channel that is going to be the best. But normally you don't even have to do that. You could actually manually do it, because there are times it will just keep scrolling through. If it scrolls through twice and doesn't stop on a channel, then I would tell you to make sure that you just do it manually. you'll hold it manually and change it. Now see how it went to 4? So what you do is you hold in the up button till it blinks, and then you choose the one that's going to allow you to go up until it goes to 4, and then press that. Check, 1, 2. Check, 1, 2. Check, 1, 2. So now I'm able to talk on that. You can change the frequency to whichever one you want. Same thing with over here. Now let me show you something. I have both of these. One's on 4 and one's on 5. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to change this back to manual, because you see what happened, all that bad noise when I turned it off. So I'm going to go ahead and hold it in, then change it back to 99, let it set in, do the same thing here, go down to 99, check, 1, 2, then go ahead and turn it off, check, 1, 2. So now both mics are off. Okay, now for the mixer. Once you learn one row, you've actually learned channel 1 through 6. They're all identical to each other. So just remember that. If you're ever looking at it, you could take a piece of paper, cover it all, and now all you have to do is concentrate on this. And once you understand that channel, you're good to go. Now the one thing I would tell you when you're doing your microphones, there's 2 ways to test a microphone. Check. Check, 1, 2, check, 1, 2. You see I have a signal. One way to check a microphone to make sure that you don't go into the clip, turn it all the way off, then look at the top here, the gains, and then also pay attention to the red light. So you see the gain and the red light. Check, 1, 2. See how I'm not getting the red even though I'm talking harsh into it? But let me turn it up to 4. Let's see what happens. Check, 1, 2. See how I got that? And that's how I ended up going to 3.5. I wanted to set it where I was able to turn it up a little bit without it getting into the clip mode. 20 is a decent spot. You could go a little bit higher for a singer that has really weak vocals. But the one thing I will tell you is when the person sings, you look at the microphone, you want to make sure they sing, they have their mouth right here singing in the top. They do not sing from here. They don't hold it down near their chest. They want it directly facing their mouth. Okay. Now, your music channel. Your music channel's different in the sense that I'm able to have the gain up higher. So if I go into the music, play a song real quick. Okay, the one thing I want to tell you is the monitor, you're never going to have the subwoofer on for your microphones, only for your music, okay? So we could start bringing in the music. 20 is going to be a decent value. Let me go ahead and pause this real quick. You'll notice also here, this is your max volume. This is your master volumes. And what this essentially is how much of the speakers are you allowing into the overall mixer. And you'll notice that I have max volume at 0. Even though you can go higher, I would definitely tell you not to. So I set it right at 0. But let's say I'm just doing background music and I'm not, nobody's DJing, no one's doing karaoke. I just wanted to sit in the bar and play. You could bring it down to -12, even -20. And you'll notice when you're playing the music, so you hear how low it is on 20, but if I went up to where it's supposed to be, it automatically gets higher. So when you're using it, you could go ahead and do that. So when you bring in your music, then up here, the monitor, you're going to start bringing in your subwoofer. Bring up the music. Now, another thing, you'll notice over here, the green lights, I put stay in the green. Even though this is in the green, the three things you need to look at is always watch this, even if it's in the green, then you look at the back of your speakers. You always make sure your subwoofer and your other speakers are always in the green. Now, if it hits just one crazy bass note, it could go into the red, but it could only blink into the red, like just blink and then back out. It cannot go into the red and stay there. If it goes into the red and stays there, that typically means you're overrunning the system. Now, when you're doing karaoke with the system and not DJing, you're going to concentrate on check 1 2, check 1 2. So see how I need to unmute the microphone? Check 1 2. Now check 1 2. Right now, I have the microphone up real high and the music down low. So you want to make sure when you're doing karaoke, if you could have someone, when you're doing a sound check, stand in the middle of the room and test a few songs and tell you to blend it better, someone might tell me to turn the music up. Check 1 2. Check 1 2. So to me, I may think having the music right here and the microphone right here, to me that's a better blend. But in order to truly know that, you want to go out in front of the speakers and listen to it and adjust it accordingly. Because you're going to find sometimes the microphone could be too heavy for the music or vice versa. So you definitely want to look at that. And just always remember, even when you're playing music, I would never go past -6. Even then, that probably brings it up pretty high. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and try it, and then let's look at these. And then also, what we'll do is we'll look at the other speakers and so forth. We'll do that in a second. Okay, going to play the music real quick. We were talking about the LEDs, so we're going to watch all the LEDs. Now, what I mentioned was I normally don't like to go past here. I'll do it, but the things we want to keep looking for. Now, also remember, different music's going to have different types of bass. So some is stronger than others, so it's never going to be the same. Listen, even though I took the mains out, you always have to remember that you have that monitor knob. See how we can still hear the bass? But you see what happened when I brought up the subwoofer, the gains, and had this higher? I would have had to have turned this lower or the back of that sub down lower. So you always want to make sure you watch your clip lights. This board is so efficient that it's not going to tell you the whole story. Okay. Now, another thing that you might run into, and I don't know if I could get it to do it again, but let's say you notice that the left speaker is much lower than the right speaker. You'll know it in the LEDs where you might see the LED popping off on this side and up to 2 or 3, and this one's only down at 1. One of the tricky things with laptops is look how loose. And mine's been jostled around, so it's not the best. But sometimes when this just isn't seated properly, or, you know, sometimes you have to reboot it or do this, that should fix it. So if you're looking at the mixer and you have the balance in the center, your volumes on the back of your speakers are up fine, you know, everything seems to be working fine, yet you're getting the left signal lower than the right or vice versa, always check the 1/8 inch, because that's where it could get tricky. And one way to get around that, if you have a mixer that just uses RCAs, is what most professional DJs use. What you would do is you would come out of here with a pair of RCAs into this, then back out of USB and into the USB port of your laptop, and that would make it where you wouldn't have to worry about that at all. Okay, next thing we're going to go over is powering down the system. Next thing I want to go over before the powering down of the system is, let's say you hook it up for karaoke, you have your HDMI, and then all of a sudden you don't see anything on the TV. The first thing you want to do, it could be source, input on your remote. Every TV is different. So I'll press input on mine, and it's stuck on composite. I need to go to HDMI. So once I push HDMI, now it's showing what's up on the computer. That could potentially be the second problem. I don't want to see all the icons. When you do karaoke, you typically want to set it up. If you were doing YouTube for home or something like that, then you would have it set up where you could see your desktop. But if you're doing a professional karaoke software, you're going to want it on a dual screen. So the first thing you do is you right-click anywhere in an open space on your desktop, right-click. This is Windows 10, so it says Display Settings. Some people's computers say Screen Resolution or Screen Options, but it's basically towards the bottom here. So I'll click it, and then you'll notice, see how it shows 1 and 2? Older versions of Windows might show 2 TVs separate. And then you look down here, it might look a little different, but you're going to find a drop-down window. Right now it says duplicate these displays. In order to fix that, you need to extend these displays. Now see how it's completely separating the two monitors? And then you want to make sure that you apply your changes. Keep changes. Now you notice the TV, it no longer shows the icons, but it shows your desktop, the screen itself. That's the way you want it. Now, I'm going to show you something else that you could run into. If you have this all hooked up and you just played DJ music and you could hear the music through the system, but then you hooked up your HDMI and you were trying to do karaoke, and you don't get the, in fact, one of the things, I'm using the Cabs Karaoke as a demonstration, and you see how it's got the screen? The first thing I would do is, in order to get that screen over to the TV, I drag it over to the right and it will go on the other TV. Now there's two ways to do it. You could do this. Some karaoke softwares you have to do this. Or double click it. You see that it filled the screen. Now go back over to the left and your mouse will go back onto your computer screen. Bring up your software. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and play a song. Okay. Actually, I told it to do too much, so let me go ahead and... I'm going to go ahead and X out of it, bring it back up. Now, you'll notice that that little screen is not there anymore because it's already on the TV. So it remembers what it just did a few moments ago. Now, I know everyone's server is going to be a little bit different depending on what you're using and so forth. But I'm going to go ahead and pick a song. Now, you see the next potential problem you could run into? You don't hear it through the system, you hear it on the TV. No problem at all. The reason why it's like that is when you plug in an HDMI cable, sometimes it wants to use it for both audio and video, because that's what an HDMI cable is for. If you think of old karaoke players and so forth, they used RCA cables, and then the video was completely separate. This is a better way of doing it, and sometimes that will be turned on. So what you need to do is, most computers, towards the bottom, if I hover over that speaker icon, you see how it's showing that it's the 24-inch TV that's on? Now what I'll do is I'll go ahead and right-click that and go into Playback Devices. Up on the left side here, you'll see up here, it's showing the TV and it's checked. What you need to do is disable that. So you right-click that and you disable it. Now it's automatically going to go to where it's supposed to, the speakers. So at least this time, once I play, I should get the signal through. Let me go ahead and click pause again. So now it's coming through the system itself. So what I'm going to do, it was a little hard for me to show you why. Okay, I'm going to go over it again because it was a little hard to not only operate the laptop but also to videotape. If I want to change, if for some reason I don't hear the sound through the system, over here you'll see where it says speakers, right-click it, go to Playback Devices, then a window will pop up on the left side. Right now it's already fixed, but earlier it was stuck on HDMI. You could see the actual TV showing that it was checked, and I right-clicked it and I disabled it. And that's how I was able to get the sound. You do the same thing for... And then the video, if for any reason you have any issues with the video, you do the same thing with the video if it's stuck on the TV and so forth. So it's just a matter of going into there. And that was pretty much it for that. And then what I'll do next is I'm going to go over the actual shutting down of the system. Okay, when we powered up the system, we powered up everything here first. So anything that you have besides the speakers, you power up first, and then you power up the speakers last. Now when you power down the system, it's the exact reverse. The first thing you do is you power down all your speakers, your subwoofer, and then you just power down this main right here, and your system's completely powered down. And that's pretty much it for the system.